Hello English 10, this is Mrs. Long back here again with the third session of our second unit. I can't believe we're making this progress through the course, but we are now into the third session at looking at mentor texts in short stories so that we can learn how to use the conventions and the elements, the stylistic devices and literary elements that other writers have used to create our own work. So I want to walk you through this last session. Next week you'll be looking at writing your own short story. So do keep that in mind as you're going through this week. But I want to walk you through this session with the activities that we have. First of all, in the overview, we have 3 assignments this week. They're fairly short, which gives you time to finish off the acuity test that most of you have not completed at this point. So I want to walk you through those 3 assignments, looking at word choice, and stylistic devices and narrative techniques that writers can use. The first thing you're going to be doing is looking at word choice. You've probably heard about this for years with the 6-trait rubric. The idea here is to look not at overused words, but to try instead pulling out that thesaurus and using very specific nouns, very concrete nouns, vivid verbs that tell you a little bit more information about the action, and adjectives that truly describe things. And so you're going to be taking a look at the previous week's short stories, the 2 that you read for the wiki, and you're going to be finding concrete nouns, vivid verbs, and adjectives in those stories and creating a word cloud out of those. Word clouds can be created with a number of different free sources online. I think I used Taggle to make this one here, and recommend a couple of them here that you can use. But you're going to create a word cloud using some of those words so that we can really see examples of very powerful word choice in some of the experts. And you'll be posting those on our first discussion board. After that, you'll take a look at 3 strategies that you'll be using for outstanding stylistic writing. You're going to look at narrative hooks. That's what gets you into the writing itself. You'll look at dialogue, how that's used to enhance a story, and stylistic conventions. You know, way back in music theory, when I had that class in college, one thing I still remember in all the chord progressions was the teacher saying that you had to learn the rules so you knew how to break them. And it's very much the same with English. I've used that analogy for years with students. You need to learn how to punctuate regular sentences and how to identify fragments so that you know how to introduce a fragment when it's appropriate. So you'll look a little bit at that so that you can find different ways to establish your style and create some really effective techniques with the story. So you'll start with a PowerPoint down here that gives an overview of these 3 and then move on to look at each one individually. Looking at the narrative hook, you know this, you've watched a lot of movies. Movies hook you right away. What I find very interesting, by the way, as a development in our society are these ads where you can skip the ad after the first 5 seconds. Those ads really have to hook you. So you'll look at the narrative hook. You'll look at dialogue, different aspects of dialogue that are important to recognize in having your characters speak. And you'll look finally at when to use conventions and when to break the conventions. Paragraphs don't have to be fully developed Whopper paragraphs for short stories. They can be short single lines. It's okay to use sentence fragments and run-ons if you're trying to capture how how a character is speaking. So you'll look at that a little bit more. And then you're going to be looking at that specifically in a story where a 37-year-old author, I think he looks actually a little older than that in this particular picture, but anyway, an older author is trying to create the voice of a 10th grader by using a lot of stylistic run-ons and fragments that we would normally say you're not allowed to use in any kind of writing. So it's going to be up to you to decide whether you think he's effective in it. I have my own opinions on this, but I'm always interested in hearing yours first. And so you're just going to respond with a very brief paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences. This is not a major writing assignment. This is just to give a response to this type of writing where lots of conventions are set aside in the interest of adapting character's voice. So you'll upload that for that assignment. And then the third assignment this week is to share your own writing. We're going to go back and look at a very brief story you've written, perhaps the one that you did for our discussion board in session 1 when you shared all of your funny stories and serious stories and lessons learned. And you're going to rewrite that, or if you don't have one from that week, you can pick a different story. But you're going to use one of these narrative techniques. You're going to rewrite it with a narrative hook, or rewrite it with dialogue, or rewrite it with some stylistic departures from standard English. And you'll post that on the discussion board and give constructive and polite feedback to other students on how well those devices were used. Really doesn't matter what the story is here. You can use Little Red Riding Hood for all I care. Just pick a story that you can write effectively using some of these techniques. The goal is to practice the techniques. And once you've done that, just a reminder that Acuity must be completed this week. Again, very few of you have actually completed it. So be sure that you go in this week. Again, there's kind of lighter assignments this week to give you more time to do that. Be sure to go in this week and get that done, finished, so that data can be used by me and other teachers at the Virtual Academy. If you're primary, full-time, you need to take it. And if you are part-time or secondary and you're not already taking it at Golden, at Stanley Lake, at Bear Creek, whatever, then you do need to take it. If you think that you don't need to take it, please message me and I'll check into whether or not we're set up to have you take it. You're going to log on to this link here, complete these sessions here, using this username and password here. So that's where we're going this week. And next week, just a reminder that what we'll be doing is pulling everything together in your own short story. So be thinking about what you want to do with your themes and characters and conflicts and settings. And I'll give you more instruction on that next week, but that's where we're headed. Hope you guys have a great week. As always, be in touch with questions and concerns, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Have a great week.